Thanks, everyone. It's great to be here in Southeast Asia and feel a really amazing vibe about all of the businesses here. I was in San Francisco on Friday and looking at a bunch of similar things, and what you notice in some parts of the world is there's a lot of innovation, there are a lot of interesting ideas, but most of what you see on the west coast of the US is how you can buy a sort of no-foam latte using your phone in some kind of contactless payment method, which is all very interesting, but it really is at a different part of innovation and ideas. And you come here to KL and you spend time in Southeast Asia and see amazing and actually reasonably predictable thematics playing across a whole range of different businesses in online classifieds and a whole bunch of the things that we've seen here today. It's a short period of time, and I'm going to go through Freelancer.com. We're actually listed in Australia. We're listed on the Australian Securities Exchange. We did an IPO in 2013, and the business was founded by Matt Barry in 2009. What's interesting, listening to the panel session from just before, which was run by Jan from Citigroup. I just spent 10 years in banking before doing this role, so I've been in both sides of the fence. That panel was talking about this shift in investment and ideas from chips, from silicon, from really high capital intensity businesses into marketplaces. And for amusement, Freelancer were founded by Matt Barry after he spent nearly a decade in Silicon Valley doing a chip business, which ultimately sold to Intel. And when he came back, he said, I'm done with high capital intensity. I want to work in a software business and a software marketplace. The map behind me is our online economy. Mark Andreessen said recently that the X for Y of business descriptions is dead. I kind of disagree. Freelancer is eBay for jobs. It's not in an employment classified sense like a marketplace like Seek or Japin or JobStreet or JobsDB. It's a marketplace for work, projects and contests. We've had 9 million projects posted to date on our platform. We have 20 million users in the marketplace, and those jobs range from $10 jobs through to tens of thousands of dollars of jobs. The white dots on this map, and this is just for 1 year, are our users. The pink end of the line is where work is posted, where employers are, and the blue end of the line is where work is done. And what you will see, perhaps unsurprisingly, is that the pink ends of the lines are in really high cost, high friction, developed economies where the cost of doing things is really high. So if you're based in US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, really sort of typically quite expensive parts of the world to do things. And the heat map of the blue lines, if you play this sort of as a tape from 2000 through to now, starts off in Eastern Europe in the early 2000s with a lot of internet connectivity and technical skills and people looking for work, and then steadily pushes east through India with that BPO revolution and into Southeast Asia. And the hotspot and where we see this heat map moving is where internet connectivity is high in Southeast Asia and where people in developing markets can go online, get a skill and monetize it in our marketplace. So we are, as you'd expect, a two-sided marketplace. We help on one side, on the employer side, individuals, businesses, governments, government agencies, anyone who wants to get work done. That might be as simple as a $10 job, it might be as complex as tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work. And in many ways, particularly for people growing ideas and businesses, whether it's a startup or a business that's taking Series A or B or C money, we are a marketplace where you can go and tap anyone to do anything for you. The other side of that marketplace is the supply side, and for us, those are freelancers. There are a lot of freelancers in developing markets. There are some in developed markets as well. And there's a broad range, but in one part of it, in markets that are developing, where wages are low and opportunity costs can be low, we have the ability to really take people out of $1 a day or $10 a day to $10 an hour and really fundamentally change the way they have labour market opportunities. The average job size on our platform is under $200, and it's a small sort of job in that sense. And you'll see here that, as you might expect from that heat map, on the employer side, there are countries like the US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, developed economies, high labour friction, typically high cost. And on the supply side of that marketplace, there's India, which is very large, and then Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Bangladesh, Pakistan, a whole range of countries with a concentration in Southeast Asia. What we have, and we've developed and grown over a really long time, is liquidity. 2/3 of our projects will get a bid within 60 seconds of being posted, which is incredibly liquid. Now, not necessarily at a really complex end, but in a liquid category. It may not be the person you award that project to. It may not necessarily be the highest price or the lowest price bid or the person who ranks the highest at the end, but it shows that we have really, really deep liquidity and we can instantly provide you engagement with people who want to work for you. Like all good marketplace businesses, we try and run this with a revenue model that is a very small, healthy commission that's directly related to volume, not over-monetized or sort of addicted to membership revenue where you become a directory, but we charge employers 3%, which is very low, and freelancers 10%. And we monetize that through being a really low friction, very large marketplace. To do this, we've had to go local everywhere. So we're in 247 countries, regions and territories. That's literally all of them. Occasionally we're sanctioned out of somewhere. I looked at the list at one point and we had users in the Vatican and Antarctica. So literally everywhere. And to do that, we've had to go local in language and go local in payments. Because to be low friction, when you log on in KL, you'll want to see it in the right language and the right currency. And you want to be having local payment options. And from the freelancing side, you want local withdrawal options, ways to really interact smoothly and very quickly and efficiently in a marketplace. And that challenge varies for us from region to region. You look at places like Bangladesh where PayPal doesn't work. How do you do that? So we use Payoneer. We have a Freelancer branded card that you can use or withdraw from an ATM. So we've had to go market by market and be very local and very low friction. What we enjoy is something that is often unappreciated. Malaysia has very high internet penetration, I think ranging at around 60, 70% penetration, but globally, more than half of the people on the planet are not connected to the internet. And what we see as that starts to change, as people come online, if you come online in a developing economy, it's not to sell your old iPhone on eBay, and it's not to buy a new pair of shoes on Amazon. You come online to skill up and then monetize that. And sitting behind this for us, particularly in education, is an unprecedented period of time where if you want to learn a skill, if you want to learn a language, if you want to learn how to code HTML, PHP, Photoshop, whatever you want, you can get high quality content for free and skill up and then take that to Freelancer and actually monetize that as a skill. This is a screen grab of a profile page from our site. And in many ways, we are becoming LinkedIn for the next 2 to 3 billion people. There are only 450 million people, like the people in this room, who can fill in a LinkedIn page that might say, I went to INSEAD and then I worked at UBS and then I worked at Freelancer. They're very kind of top-tier ways to face the market. If you are in the next category of developing, high skill, technically skilled, and looking for work in a marketplace, your profile page looks something much more like this. This is a guy who's based in Indonesia. The little things on the left-hand side under the profile photo are all of the ways that we demonstrate quality in our marketplace. That you've been payment verified, trust and safety, we've seen your ID. You can see the skills and categories of work that this guy can do, what he charges per hour. A whole bunch of statistics like percentage complete, percentage rehire. This tells you so much more about someone in a developing market that you want to work with as a freelancer than you'll ever get from a LinkedIn page. And what we're seeing constantly, it's the Mark Andreessen line again, software is eating the world. As it does, you need people to write the software, run the platforms, and make it all work. I'm still old enough to, and it makes me laugh every time I see these stories about people who are quite, concerned about the prospect of being in a driverless car. I'm still old enough to remember being in an elevator in a department store, and the elevator had someone in it, a little hat, a uniform, operating the elevator. And I suspect that a similar conversation would have been had 25 or 30 years ago where someone would say, wow, would I ever get into an elevator without a person running it in the same way that you get into a driverless car. And sitting behind all of that is a fantastic theme for us in that as all of those trends converge, you need a lot of people that are technically skilled that will work for you in a marketplace. We've been doing this since 2009. Matt Barry founded the business in 2009 with a small acquisition. We acquired more than a dozen businesses after that, a roll-up of what was quite a fragmented space back then. And we've grown that user number. What we have, as you can see from these graphs, is an acquired history back to 2000, 2001. So we have nearly 16 years of marketplace history on some participants, which is hugely effective for us in terms of the data science that powers the matchmaking and the high-quality experience that you have in a marketplace. We've been doing that for the last 5 years with a revenue CAGR of 52%, booking just under 40 mil of net rev Aussie and just under $500 million Aussie of gross payments volume, and we've been creeping that monetisation gently with time. You'll see that we've been able to grow the user numbers at a very high rate, and that over time that average project size is gently deflating a little as we lower the minimum size and as it becomes so much easier to post work into a marketplace like ours. Now, there's that great slide where you have Airbnb as the accommodation provider with no rooms and Alibaba as the retailer with no stock. We are the world's largest marketplace for work. We do have staff. We have 500 staff. We have 300 in Manila, just over 100 in Sydney, and some small offices in London, Vancouver and Buenos Aires. But we've been able to do that and service countries in a way that doesn't require us to be there. Our two largest countries on each side of the marketplace are the US and India. We don't have any staff from the core business in either of those businesses. The quickest way to understand and get your head around the business and some of the complexity is just to quickly look at some of the jobs that go through. And they really do range from that $10 job, and I've been guilty of this myself, where you might take a photo of your handwritten notes from a meeting and post a project for $10 that's type up all of these notes and do some research or summarise something for me, right through to really high-end jobs. The bread and butter job, the project that attracts a lot of small businesses to our platform is build my website. This might be a small business, local cafe or restaurant, someone that probably can't do it themselves and also doesn't want a $5,000 or $10,000 website. They want a $200 website. This project was posted with a budget of a couple $100. They had 36 bids and awarded it to someone to build this website for $277, which is hugely deflationary in terms of this kind of market. Similarly, there's a lot of 3D rendering, which is a really popular category for us. Again, really low cost to projects like this, $100 to 3D render from a 2D floor plan an entire house, something that just isn't achievable to do at that kind of deflated cost in developed markets. CAD design, and I'll get to one of these projects at the end, really popular for it. This is probably the first time that you've been able to get from a design spec a full CAD model of what you can fulfill in production for less than the cost of one retail unit. We realised along the way in developing the business that projects work really well. For something complex, you write a description, you tag a few skills, you set a budget, you throw that into our marketplace, and 20 million people will bid you to do that work with our sort of matchmaking help on the data science side. You realise that for something like a logo or a business card, you don't want to look at 30 or 40 CVs or profile pages and pick someone to work with. You want to look at 30 or 40 logos. So we pivoted this into a contest model, where instead of a budget, you set a prize and people bid you with completed work. And as that happens, it's very interactive. You can say, I like that, don't like that, change this, open up a chat window and actually have a dialogue with people who are going to enter your sort of crowdsourced contest-based model. One of the interesting things, this is another category, contests work really well in ambient modelling. I didn't appreciate how much of catalogues like the IKEA catalogue are no longer photographic. They're rendered, because these images are incredibly difficult to produce outside of a rendered context. Rent a warehouse, put up the wall, put up the ceiling. No one can make a bed like that. But we've also crossed the line where you can tell what's a render and what is photographic. So this kind of content, for a small business to be able to crowdsource 69 options to use their product in marketing collateral for $90, again, hugely deflationary and very powerful. And this goes on. I'll finish with one product right at the end, one thing that really surprised all of us and tested the boundaries of the use case for this. We had NASA use our platform recently to crowdsource component design for the space station, and they've moved on to do a whole bunch of things. This is a robotic astronaut that's on the space station. It's been there for 3 years. This kind of surprised me at first, because every time I see anything with a robot astronaut on a space station in a movie, it kills everyone. Right? It hasn't. It's been there for quite some time. And what they're doing is they're attaching legs to it, and they're trying to get it to do this. This is a render, ironically, not produced on Freelancer. And this illustrates a problem. This is robotic astronaut outside the space station, gripping onto a handrail. And so one of NASA's challenges was, we want to do it like this. So it turns out that you need a render. This was produced by a Freelancer for $50. And it's a CAD render of a handrail. And NASA had to go component by component. In this case, they did it $50 at a time, to produce high-quality 3D renders of every object that a robotic astronaut was going to interact with on a space station to get it done. it just shows you can literally get anything done. So we're listed on ASX. We have been a very fundamental change in the labour market and how people work together. It's hugely deflationary. It's largely acyclical because as macro jitters creep up, it's good for both the supply side and the demand side of our marketplace. So we found the ASX to be a very attractive destination for capital. For us, the business is cash flow positive and self-funding. And I've been there for 2 years after 10 years in investment banking and technology, and it's been a fantastic business. Thank you.